Right, everybody. We are here finally with a hockey video for the 2025-26 NHL season. It's been a while since I made a video, but I promise this one's worth it. The bracket isn't set yet, so I'm just gonna start off by saying the final weeks of the NHL season wrapped up pretty nicely over the last few days. I thought that there was going to be quite a few teams still in the mix to make the playoffs, but as of right now, we're at Wednesday. The season isn't over yet, but every playoff team has been figured out. Not all the matchups have been figured out, but I figured if there's any time for me to do this, it's now with exams and stuff, and I won't have time to do it before the playoffs actually start, unless I were to do it right now like this. So I'm just going to do my playoff preview based on what I think the matchups will be, and I'll give some little caveats here and there on what teams aren't actually like guaranteed to match up. I'll give my thoughts on what the matchups could be like if there's anything that's like maybe a coin flip. But for the most part, I'm just going to be going through all the teams and just giving a little bit of a rating on what they've been doing this season and how I think they would fare in a playoff series. I'm going to try and go off the cuff as much as I can here, and I'm eventually going to end up at who I think is going to win the Stanley Cup. And I haven't planned this out at all. This is all just spitballing off what I believe the standings were like when I looked. So I hope you guys enjoy. But first of all, we're going to start off with the East because the East is the one that's most set up right now. There's only one more thing that needs to happen, and it's about to happen, which is Boston needs to beat the New Jersey Devils today, and they're up by 4 goals. If Boston wins this game, they're in the third period, which they will likely win. That means that the final matchups are confirmed in the East, and I'm going to go based off of this right now. I don't have any confirmation that they will hold on to this 4-goal lead, but, I mean, this is about as good as I can hope. So, it's final game of the season for them. I'm going to start with the Buffalo Sabres and the Boston Bruins. If the Bruins win today, they will clinch a playoff series against the Buffalo Sabres. The Buffalo Sabres have had an incredible season. And it started off awful. It started off very bad, and they fired their GM around Christmas time, I think. Maybe November, December area, they fired their GM. And Lindy Ruff as the coach, like, I can't believe the turnaround the Buffalo Sabres have had, and I don't think anybody in the NHL expected this. I've seen people think that maybe Buffalo could sneak into the playoffs, especially with teams like Toronto and Florida. Toronto trading Marner away in the offseason was big. And Florida with the Barkov injury, Chuck injury, they've been riddled with injuries all year. So this is a very big anomaly for the NHL. There is actually 6 out of the 16 playoffs teams did not make the playoffs last season. That's the biggest turnover I can remember since becoming a hockey fan. It's very big. So I'm pretty excited to watch this year. It seems like there's a lot up in the air. And I'm just excited to see how it all plays out, I guess. With these new teams making it, and a lot of new matchups that I haven't even seen in my life before. So we'll start off with Buffalo and Boston, which I haven't seen before in my entire life. I haven't actually watched a Buffalo Sabres playoff series since becoming a hockey fan. So this is the first for me. I don't know what Buffalo's like in the playoffs. I don't know how they're going to be like. The last time I remember them in the playoffs was when Rick Jeanneret was still around talking in maybe the early 2010s. And I think they beat the Rangers on the playoff series, which is kind of funny. But I certainly wasn't watching hockey then. I was like 7 years old. Either way, I think this is going to be an unbelievable series, as I do for most of them. Buffalo, A+ season. Like, seriously, round of applause. They started the year 0-3, and now look at them. They are first place in the Atlantic, second place in the Eastern Conference as a whole, and they look like they're ready to take on anybody right now. And their goaltending tandem has been great with Alex Lyon and Ukko Pekka Luukkonen. Great name, by the way. Try pronouncing that 10 times fast. It's hard to predict this one because Boston's the more experienced team, though they do have interesting newcomers. They got James Haggins coming in, the highly touted draft pick from last year, 7th overall. And I think this kid's going to be a stud. He's played good. I watched his first game the other day. He played amazing when he was playing. He got his first NHL assist. And the Bruins looked a little bit weak the last couple weeks. They really did look weak, and they almost blew the number 1 wildcard spot. Ottawa almost took it from them. But the Bruins, it seems like, are hanging on to the number 1 wildcard, and they deserve it. They are a tough team to play against. They still got Pasternak and McAvoy, and they have Jeremy Swayman playing some good hockey as well. I think this is going to be a long series. I think, in my heart, I don't know who to pick. This is one of those series that could just go either way, and like, you're not wrong for thinking either way, but I really think the Boston Bruins are just ready for the playoffs. They've been experienced in the playoffs. The Bruins have a good time against teams that don't have a lot of experience. In the past, at least. I think the Bruins win this in, I'm going to say 6. Game 6 would be in Boston. I think the Bruins win it in 6. Sorry, Buffalo. But I think it's just a little too early for you guys. There's a lot of pressure on Buffalo to perform now that they've gotten this far. I know they're kind of playing with house money, but the Bruins weren't supposed to be here either. And the Bruins have no pressure to perform at all. It is just a house money season for both of them, but I think the Bruins take this. They're a little bit of a tougher team to play against. The other series will go in the Atlantic. We have Tampa Bay versus Montreal. This is a rematch of the 2021 Stanley Cup Finals, which is a anomaly. This is not something that should ever happen ever again in the NHL. Because of the COVID bubble and how the divisions were realigned, Montreal played in the Canadian division that year, and Tampa Bay, being normally in Montreal's division, ended up going to the Stanley Cup Finals against Montreal and beat Montreal in 5 games. That was a very different looking Montreal team. That was when Cole Caulfield was a rookie and just came into the league, had a really good playoffs. But Montreal has really turned up the dial on this rebuild. They look like a serious team to like take on another serious team in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is probably at the end of their prime here. They shouldn't be as good as they are right now, but the rest of the league just isn't caught up to it yet. Losing Stamkos and then putting in Gensel, and he's fit in very well, but he's no Steven Stamkos still. And Victor Hedman out still, not sure when he's back, but Darren Radish seems to have taken his place and been very good so far and in his absence. And good teams, great teams, have players get injured and still perform. And Tampa Bay is a team that has done that over the years. They've done that en route to their cup wins as well. Steven Stamkos didn't play in 2020 except for maybe 3 shifts, and they still won a cup without Steven Stamkos because they have guys that step up. They always have a revolving door of guys you've never heard of that are just going to play just good enough to keep them in it, such as Darren Radish. I think Tampa Bay takes this in 6. I think Tampa takes it in 6. I think Montreal's still a little bit young. I think they'll put up a good fight, and I think it'll be a good series, but Tampa Bay's got the edge, in my opinion, here. So it'll be Tampa Bay versus Boston round 2. We'll get to round 2 in a little bit. So the other side of the East, we got Carolina number 1 clinched right now, and they will likely be playing Ottawa after Boston wins their game. So Carolina versus Ottawa. I mean, what the hell? Like, that's such a weird series. Ottawa seems to be getting healthy at the right time. I thought Shabbat was going to be injured for a lot longer, but he's actually coming back quite quick. He was supposed to have 4 to 8 weeks, and he comes back in 2 weeks after this broken arm. Incredible turnover here. Jake Sanderson's back, and the Ottawa Senators are getting healthy, and they're getting hot at the right time. They were very much in danger of missing the playoffs. They should not have made the playoffs, and yet Detroit really choked it. They had it, and so did Columbus, and these teams just choked it. Washington should have made it. Columbus should have made it. Detroit should have made it. Ottawa did. Ottawa's the only one that took it. Even the Islanders were right there, and they blew it too. There was a lot of teams that could have had that spot instead of Ottawa, and Ottawa decided, you know what? Well, I guess we'll have it, right? Well, I guess we'll play Carolina in round 1. Sure. What's that? So Carolina hasn't actually lost to round 1 in quite a few years. Last year they beat whoever they played. I think they played probably the Islanders. Who was it? I don't even remember. That's how long it goes. I think Islanders didn't make it. I don't know. Either way, Carolina hasn't lost a first round in a while. They beat whoever they play against up until the second or third round usually. They don't lose in round 1. They don't lose in the finals. They lose in round 2 and round 3. To the same teams over and over again. They lose to Tampa Bay. They lose to Florida, and they lose to the Rangers. And that one year they did lose to Boston with Tuukka Rask, but I just don't see Carolina losing to an Ottawa Senators team, especially if they have James Reimer in net. That just doesn't do it for me. I don't think James Reimer's that guy. He did help Ottawa get to the playoffs. Not a great save percentage, and that is a goalie that Carolina exploits. They exploit bad goalies. They exploit goalies that are shaky. They exploit goalies that can't handle a lot of shots. They exploit those goalies. And they lose to good goalies like Vasilevsky, Bobrovsky, Shesterkin, Tuukka Rask. They beat other goalies. They beat Sorokin. They beat Varlamov. They beat Leonard. Those kind of goalies. They beat those guys. Linus Ullmark is one of those guys that they beat too. If Ullmark comes back for the playoffs, I think they beat Ullmark. I don't think this is much of a series. I think it's Carolina in 5. Carolina's just got that. They are a hot team. They are a very hot team and a lot of pressure on them too, but they're a team that can handle the pressure for the first little bit. And I think they're a wagon this year. So Carolina in 5 over the Senators, in my opinion. As much as I'd like to see the Senators maybe pull an upset here. Canada fan, right? The other series, which I think is going to be incredible, and I am so happy to get to see this one. I wasn't sure about it for a bit because I didn't think Philadelphia was a good enough team to make this interesting, but Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, the Battle of Pennsylvania for the first time since 2018. This one's going to be fun, guys. This is Crosby, Malkin, Letang's last playoff run together. As the Penguins said, they're not signing Malkin again. He could go play somewhere else. We're not signing him again. This is Malkin's last year as a Pittsburgh Penguin. The core 3 in Pittsburgh of Crosby, Malkin, Letang, the longest tenured trio in NHL history, is wrapping it up this year. This is it. If you want a last dance for Pittsburgh, this is where you're looking. This playoffs is history no matter what happens to Pittsburgh. And Phillies are the complete opposite because they are a team that hasn't made the playoffs in like 6 years since the 2020 bubble when they were actually a very good team with Carter Hart as their goalie. They had Couturier, Giroux, all these players that were still really good in their primes. They had Ivan Provorov playing incredible hockey back then, and they haven't been good since until now. And props to them. They won their games to get in here. They had like maybe a 5% chance to make the playoffs as of like 3 weeks ago. They won their games. The Islanders didn't, and Columbus didn't, and Washington didn't. So that means we have Philly in the playoffs. And they, man, over the last few weeks, like Porter Martone, their rookie, has been playing incredible. Trevor Zegras looks so happy to be in the playoffs for the first time. Cutter Gauthier, 40 goal scorer out of nowhere. I would have never saw that coming. And Dan Vladar looks good. The goalie, he looks great. And they're up against a very interesting Pittsburgh Penguins team with rookie Ben Kindle. Just drafted last year, by the way, like I think 10th or 11th overall. He's been having a great season. They are drawing blood from the proverbial stone right now. It seems that Kyle Dubas has picked up all the right pieces to get this team back to one more playoff run. Erik Karlsson plays great. Letang, serviceable defenseman, fine, but they don't even need him to be that good because he's probably in their like third pair right now. They are getting great performances from the bottom of the NHL, and they're getting performances from players that you and I haven't really thought of as good NHL players over the last few years. Like, they have just enough to make this work. Anthony Mantha, Tommy Novak, random players playing great. Brian Rust has been playing good. Sidney Crosby, ageless wonder Sidney Crosby, if I may add. He hates Philly. He hates every player on that team. Evgeny Malkin, he's had some moments against Pittsburgh or Philly as well. This is a familiar matchup. They played a few times in the 2010s, and Pittsburgh got the better of it. And this time, I think they're doing it again. They also have Stuart Skinner. They traded Stuart Skinner for Tristan Jarry this season. So we'll see if Skinner plays as good as he did for the Oilers over the last few years. I mean, Skinner was hot and cold. He would let in awful goals, but he would steal a series. And he's the reason why Dallas didn't make another cup final during that stretch of time as well. I'm very intrigued to see this series because it could go either way as well. I have to give the edge to Pittsburgh. Experience is key here. And as is the key for the other series as well, I go experience over youth any day of the week in the playoffs. They know what it's like to be battle-tested, and they know what it's like to go through adversity and to go through a series where maybe you're not getting the bounces. Maybe you're playing against a team that you don't know very well. Maybe you're playing against a team that knows you better than you know them. Pittsburgh knows how to deal with that. Pittsburgh, of all teams, knows how to deal with that. Same with Boston. Pittsburgh, these older teams, you got to look out for them because they know the secrets of the playoffs. They will get the benefit of the calls from the referees. They know how to toe that line perfectly. Give me Pittsburgh in 7. It's going to go the distance. Pittsburgh in 7. And now we are on to round 2, I guess, in the East. We'll go round 2 in the East now. You know what? No, we're going to go West. I'll get to round 2 after. It'll be quicker if I do it this way. I just want to get through all of the series once because this is also where it's a little bit hazy for everything. I don't want to be talking about round 2, round 3, and then going to the Stanley Cup in the East when I haven't even talked about any team in the West. So I'm going to go to the West now. I'm going to start with the teams we know. We know Colorado is playing against Wild Card 2. Now, Colorado's been amazing this year. They haven't had that great of a stretch over the last little bit. I'll give them that. They are still a top 3 team in the NHL, in my opinion. They won the President's Trophy. Is that a curse this year? I guess we'll find out. Colorado's had a couple disappointing years in a row. Since they won their Stanley Cup, they haven't really went on a run recently, and they ran into the brick wall that is the Dallas Stars a couple times in a row now, and they are sick of it. I'll tell you that much. It's looking like 2 freight trains are ready to collide in round 2, doesn't it? For the 3rd straight year, it looks like Colorado and Dallas might be playing each other in round 2. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, though. Who is Colorado playing? They are playing one of, I believe, 3 teams they could play against still. And there's only 1 game left, I think. Maybe 1 or 2 games left, and they could play against 3 different teams. Currently, as it stands, and I'm going to base my matchups around what it's currently like, or what it's most likely to be. This is what I believe is most likely they will probably play against the LA Kings. They don't have any tiebreaker over anybody. They're a point back on Anaheim, 2 points back on Edmonton. The LA Kings are probably staying where they are in Wild Card 2. I would hate to see the Oilers-Kings play again. That would be awful. Genuinely awful. Honestly, Kopitar retiring this year. Drew Doughty nearing the end of his career, I'd assume. Darcy Kemper's been playing good. They have Artemi Panarin. And this is a very different looking team as well. They traded Corey Perry this year to Tampa Bay. Very weird. The Rangers and Leafs both get conditional picks satisfied with them making the playoffs. Good for the Rangers. Good for the Leafs, my dad's team. Go for the Leafs. Cool. The Kings are an interesting team because they have underlying pressure to perform a little bit. They do have underlying pressure to perform a little bit. There should be some form of fight in them. I don't think they are capable of winning a series against Colorado. As much as I want Anze Kopitar to go on some Hail Mary Cup run here, I don't think this is the team that beats Colorado because this is also the team that gets belt to cheeks from Edmonton every year. Every year, Edmonton takes them out back and gives them the old Yeller treatment. And then they're dead. And then the next year they come back, they're like, oh, we're back. Oh, you want me to go behind the barn again? And then old Yeller, 2, 3, 4. 4 old Yellers from the LA Kings here. LA is going to lose this series. Colorado will win it. I think Colorado wins in probably 5. But I'm going to say Colorado in 6. I'm going to say the Kings make it a series, but Colorado is such a good team, and they have learned from their mistakes over the last few years. They lost to the Kraken a few years ago in round 1. They underestimated the Seattle Kraken, and the Seattle Kraken made them pay for it. They lose to, they did beat the Jets a couple years ago, and they learned very, very quickly that they can't take any teams lightly in round 1. No matter who they play against, whether it's Winnipeg, whether it's Seattle, whether it's Dallas even. They played Dallas last year, and they probably deserve to beat Dallas. They should have beat Dallas, and the unbelievable anomaly that was the Mikko Rantanen Game 7 and Game 6. His unbelievable performances propelled Dallas to round 2. Colorado should have won that series. They do not want to make the same mistake again. They know, McKinnon knows, Makar knows, Landeskog knows, Natchez knows. These players know that their time is limited. They're in their prime right now. They need to win now while they can. The Kings are past their prime, and they're not even quite in their next prime. Quinton Byfield's not that guy yet. Adrian Kempe is that guy, but is he enough of one? Artemi Panarin's here. You have a couple years to try. But is Artemi Panarin really a playoff performer? I wouldn't say so as a New York Rangers fan. He has good moments, sure, but he's not driving play in a tough playoff series. He gets bailed out a lot. Colorado in 6. The other series, Dallas and Minnesota, this is heartbreaking for both teams that they have to play each other now because this could be a conference final matchup given how they played this year. This is a heavyweight matchup, and one team has clearly better odds to win it, Dallas, and I think Dallas will take this series in 6. I will say Minnesota has Kaprizov, Quinn Hughes. They have great goaltending right now. They have a solid team. This is a team that has a lot of expectations to do something, but I think there's the biggest of excuses called the Dallas Stars sitting right in front of them. It would be really hard for the Minnesota Wild to go on a run right now. They would have to go through Dallas in round 1, which is one of the best teams in the NHL. Round 2, what's the reward for beating Dallas? Oh yeah, let's play the President's Trophy winning Colorado Avalanche. Even Wendell says so. Even my dog knows. Woof. Right, Minnesota? Oof. God, that's so funny. I think my dad just got home. So there might be something going on. Hey, buddy. We got a guest speaker. Yeah, okay. Come on. What do you want? Go it down, you big doofus. Okay, so I think Minnesota loses in 6. Wendell, go lay down. I say Minnesota wins. No, Minnesota loses in 6. Tight series, but Minnesota doesn't win these series. They haven't won a series in like 10, 11 years now. Wendell, shush. I think Wendell wants to tell you guys that's an awful opinion and that Minnesota's winning the cup. Minnesota's winning it all. Go lay down. Go. Come on. I made him run away. So, where was I? This is awful. The Dallas Stars are going to beat the Wild in 6. They have Mikko Rantanen, who is a playoff performer, by the way. Does his own thing. True superstar, Mikko Rantanen. They have Tyler Seguin still. They have Jamie Benn still in the end of his career, likely, coming up soon. They have Miro Heiskanen, one of the better defensemen in the NHL. Better offensive defenseman in the NHL. They have a great D-core, up to down, like top to bottom. They have Jake Ottinger in net, and he can steal a playoff series if he needs to. He's a very good NHL goalie. He's one of the top 5 probably goalies I would pick for a playoff series. And that's maybe more of a testament to how bad the goaltending is in the NHL right now than how good Ottinger is. Because Ottinger's had his struggles as well over the last few years, but I have faith in Ottinger in this series at least. Dallas in 6. The other side of things, we have an interesting series that has never happened before. Vegas Golden Knights versus the Utah Mammoth. This is the Utah's first ever time in the playoffs. I will say this. There's a chance Vegas doesn't secure first. There's a chance the series does not happen. There is a chance. This is one of those weird things where there's such a big clump of teams together in the Pacific Division. There's still a chance that Anaheim or Edmonton could pass Vegas for first place still. I'm going to pretend like Vegas is going to do it. Vegas has got number 1. I'm just going to pretend it's Vegas against Utah for the sake of this. And then the other series will be Edmonton versus Anaheim for sake of that as well. So Vegas against Utah, I mean, flip a coin, right? I mean, we have never seen Utah in a playoff series. We've seen their players in a kind of playoff atmosphere with the Arizona Coyotes a couple years ago. But this is 5 years ago. This is during the bubble. This is not a team that was a capable NHL team. They should not have made that playoffs. They accidentally stumbled their way into this COVID bubble and beat Nashville in a weird little best-of-5 series. And bet you can't name anybody on that team. So we're saying this is their first playoff experience. They have not experienced playoff hockey in Utah, and this is the first series, and I think it's very fitting that it's against one of the more recent expansion teams. This is going to be a crazy series. I'm going to love every second of it. I don't know what to expect out of it. I think John Tortorella is an incredible coach, and he's really turned Vegas around over the last few weeks. Vegas is really hot, and when you're a hot team going into the playoffs and you're also a good team, it's very interesting because Vegas was like bottom half of the NHL going into like last week. They were not a top 16 team in the NHL, and yet here we are with them in first place in the Pacific Division. That tells you a lot about the Pacific Division. Not necessarily about how good Vegas is, but how bad the Pacific is. Because they went on, a 5-0-2 stretch, and now they're first again. Jack Eichel, Mitch Marner, Mark Stone, Shea Theodore, their goalie, Carter Hart, and I guess Aiden Hill. They have playoff pedigree in net. Carter Hart's first playoffs in a while. He played pretty well for Philly when he was there, though, so I'd say they got good goaltending. On the other side of things, Utah. Dylan Guenther, Clayton Keller, Nick Schmaltz has been playing great. 30-goal scorer Nick Schmaltz, by the way. Mikhail Sergachev is a playoff performer. He played for Tampa Bay. He had a really good time in Tampa Bay as one of their top defensemen. And this is one of those series that I think it's closer than people might think. This doesn't feel like a division winner against a wildcard team. This feels like it could be a 2-3 thing. This feels like these are very even teams. I think the Mammoth take this one. Mammoth are going to pull the upset, and they are going to beat Vegas in, I'm going to say, give me 7 games. 7 games, Mammoth beat the Vegas Golden Knights. And I think it's because of the goalie carousel that's in Vegas. And I think it's because Tortorella is just not coached a team in the playoffs for a while. I don't know how he's going to go with the ebbs and flows that come with a playoff series, especially attached to Mitch Marner, notable playoff donkey. Like I said, both of these teams are good, though, on paper. You look on paper, these are good players on good teams. And there's no shame in Vegas losing to Utah, and there's no shame in Utah losing to Vegas. This is just one of those ones where I think the bounces are going to go Utah's way this time. This series. The other series that I'm going to talk about, the last first round of the series, yay, we're almost there. Everybody, round of applause. You watched 27 minutes of this YouTube video so far. 27 and a half. You're almost at the half-hour mark. Stand up, stretch, take a break for a second. We're getting there. Promise you. Put it on 1.5 speed if you need to. We're getting there. I promise you. It's wrapping up eventually. We're probably more than halfway done this video. I don't have to talk about every team again. I just have to talk about the matchups coming up. Edmonton versus Anaheim. Anaheim has a lot of actual players that have played in the playoffs. Alex Killorn was with Tampa Bay when they won multiple Stanley Cups. He knows what it takes. Chris Kreider has he has tied for the most NHL goals while facing elimination in NHL history, tied with Mark Messier with, I think, 16 goals in his career while facing elimination in the playoffs. That's what playing for the New York Rangers in the 2010s and 2020s would do to a guy. He played incredible for New York for like 15 years. This guy knows how to win in the playoffs. Jacob Trouba was on that team too. He'll tell you, that's a team that knows how to win in the playoffs. They know how to get through a series when they're down a couple games. Down a game, down 2 games, down a few goals in the third period of an important game on road ice. These are players who want teaching the youth of Anaheim how to win. And I think it's a very, very tough ask for them to lead them past the Edmonton Oilers. Now, Anaheim has Lucas Dostal in net, an unproven playoff goaltender. They have players that have not played NHL hockey for very long. And I will say this, I completely forgot in the first half of this video that Cutter Gauthier was not a Philadelphia Flyer. He's actually on this team. That's my bad. I completely forgot what team he was on. What a bonehead move that was. I'm taking off the hat so you guys know that I screwed up on that one. Cutter Gauthier is not a Philadelphia Flyer. He notably refused to play for them. So, Cutter Gauthier, 40-goal scorers on this team. Thank you very much. This is ridiculous. This is what happens when I go off the cuff and I don't write notes or anything. I have no papers here, no notes, no nothing. I'm looking right at myself this whole time. I can't believe I even remembered all the teams. So, forgive me for that one. My bad. Jacob Trouba, Radko Gudas, players that have won, players that know how to win, players that have gone deep in the playoffs and know what it's like to lose to the best team in the NHL. Not necessarily to win it all. Alex Killorn knows how to win it all. I'll tell you that much. Anaheim is underrated because they have that much experience. Edmonton has been to the Stanley Cup Finals 2 years in a row. They've had a very, very compelling argument that they should win a Stanley Cup over the next few years. Their goaltending sucks. It is awful. You cannot win the cup with awful goaltending. You can win it with mediocre goaltending, such as Adin Hill. You can win it with decent goaltending, such as Darcy Kemper. You can win it with any slew of okay, decent, average, or amazing goaltending. You cannot win a Stanley Cup with an awful goaltender. And I will say Tristan Jarry is one of the worst playoff goaltenders I've ever seen in my entire life. They cannot rely on him. Pittsburgh cannot rely on Tristan Jarry. They notably lost a few playoff series because of him. They should have beaten a few more teams than they did. They should have beaten the New York Islanders when they played them. And he blew it. Straight up. Outplayed, outmuscled, and out-goaltended the entire time was Pittsburgh. That's all it took for the Islanders to beat them. And that was a big reason why the Islanders went on their 2 runs to the conference finals in the early 2010s, or early 2020s, sorry. Pittsburgh sucked at goaltending. That's what it was. I hate this matchup because I just don't know who to pick. Unproven goaltender in Lucas Dostal. Could be anybody. He could even be Tristan Jarry. Tristan Jarry. Awful playoff goaltender, Tristan Jarry, who's been playing awful goaltending so far for the Edmonton Oilers. Or you could pick Connor Ingram, who is notably the backup goalie to Stuart Skinner. He played fine when he was in net, but he certainly wasn't stealing series like some of the other goalies. So you're putting Connor Ingram in net, that's a backup goalie. That's maybe good enough to beat the Anaheim Ducks. I'm going to pick Edmonton to win this series because they have McDavid and Draisaitl and Bouchard, and they have a lot of players that could beat a mediocre team that doesn't know what they're doing yet. And I just don't know if Anaheim is quite ready to go on a run. They are missing one piece. They're missing maybe 2 pieces. They're missing a little bit more on the depth side of things to contend in a playoff series right now, I think. I would not be surprised if they end up beating Edmonton, but this is notably the hardest one, in my opinion, to choose between. But I gotta go Edmonton winning this series in, I'm gonna say, 6 games. Edmonton wins this. 6 games. All right, so where are we at right now? We're past the first round. Congratulations. Now I have to remember who I picked for every series, which is gonna suck. So I'm gonna go back to the East because we haven't talked about them in a bit. It's been like 20 minutes to talk about the Eastern Conference. How's that sound? Eastern Conference. We have the Boston Bruins beating the Buffalo Sabres against the Tampa Bay Lightning beating the Montreal Canadiens. Boston versus Tampa round 2. Interesting matchup. I think Tampa takes this one. I don't think anybody's really going to contest me on that. 2 experienced playoff teams. One of them just has a little more firepower and a little more oomph to them, you know? Tampa Bay's won a couple cups recently, and they still have Kucherov. They still have Braden Point. They have Anthony Cirelli. They have Jake Gensel. They have Brandon Hagel playing great as well. They have Andrei Vasilevsky, probably one of the best playoff goalies of all time, against Jeremy Swayman. Not fantastic in the playoffs, notably in his career. He's been fine, not fantastic. The Lightning are going to abuse him. It is going to be a lot to take. I think Tampa Bay I'm going to say 6. Boston will keep it close. They're a chippy team. They could probably grind out a couple wins. They might even be able to grind out a series win here. I think Tampa Bay should take this series in 6. The other series in the East, we're going to go Carolina against the Pittsburgh Penguins. That's going to be a fun one. I have always thought they were going to play a playoff series against each other over the past years. I thought it was going to happen, and I think this is the year it finally happens. I think maybe 2 or 3 times over the last 5 years I thought that this is a matchup I would see in round 1 at some point, or round 2. So Carolina beats good goaltenders. No, they beat bad goaltenders and they lose to good goaltenders. Is Stuart Skinner a good enough goaltender to beat the Carolina Hurricanes? I don't know. Carolina is very similar to the Dallas Stars. I'm going to say Pittsburgh wins this series and goes to the conference finals. I'm going to say that. I'll say Pittsburgh wins this one. That'd be very interesting, I think, to watch. I think Pittsburgh wins it. Pittsburgh's got some oomph to them right now, and they're going to go on a little bit more of a run than most people would think. So we're going to have Pittsburgh against Tampa Bay in the conference finals when we get back to that in a second. Off in the West, we got a couple series to talk about. We have the Colorado Avalanche against the Dallas Stars, and they're both going to be sighing and crying about it because this is an awful thing to have happen in the second round. This is now 3 years in a row that they would play each other in the first or second round, and they're 2 of the best teams in the NHL. And Dallas has won the last 3 series against them in equally heartbreaking fashion every single time. Colorado somehow finds a way to lose it, and there's no reason for me to believe they won't do it again. Dallas in 7. No, Dallas in 6. Dallas in 6. I say Dallas in 6. They just have their number. And a team that has another team's number, they keep doing it over and over again. The Bruins do it to the Leafs over and over again. The Leafs do it to the Senators over and over again. The Penguins do it to the Flyers over and over again. The Oilers do it to the Kings over and over again. It happens. This happens. And this is a series that happens over and over again. And it's going to happen the same way again. Dallas in 6. Over the other side, Utah against the Oilers. Cool series. I'm going to go Oilers in 7 here. This is a weird take. I just don't trust right-handed goaltenders. Like, if they're catching right-handed, like this is just weird. Now, I know you're looking at the other way because it's flipped, but, so it would look like this. This is such a stupid take, I know. Karel Vejmelka, the goalie for the Utah Mammoth, has played a great season. He's played very good. But he reminds me of how Logan Thompson was last season for Washington, where he was really good until he just wasn't really good enough. And he got exploited against the Hurricanes. And that's all it really took for them, was for that to just kind of got to them after a while. I think the Oilers win this series. I don't think it's going to be handy. I think it's going to be a hard series for the Oilers to win, but I think they win it in 7. Oilers in 7, in my opinion, is the way to go with this one. So now we would have the Lightning against the Penguins in the conference finals in the East, which, I mean, flip a coin, right? Like, Pittsburgh's an old team with all of their core intact. Tampa Bay's an older team, but they're mostly just in their prime. And they don't necessarily have their core intact because they don't have Steven Stamkos still. And we don't know where Victor Hedman is yet. We don't know if he's coming back or not. Vasilevsky's not quite in his prime anymore. I mean, Tampa Bay's got some flaws. They've been having a couple years of flawed first rounds. Since they went on those 3 cup runs, like those 3 runs to the Stanley Cup Finals, this has kind of been a tough one for them. Pittsburgh won this series last time it happened, maybe 10 years ago. Just thinking of how cool it would be for Pittsburgh to make it to the finals. And I just think how stupid it is that I have it going this far anyways. Give me Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is winning it. I just had to stop myself there. Tampa Bay is going to the Stanley Cup Finals, and they're going to beat Pittsburgh in 7 games. It is going to be a long series, and it's going to be a hard-fought series, and this is where the core 3 in Pittsburgh come to an end. Crosby, Malkin, Letang going on a blaze of glory against one of the best teams in the 2010s and 2020s, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Lightning go to the finals, And the other series we're going to talk about is the Dallas Stars against the Edmonton Oilers for the third year in a row. But this one's different. Stuart Skinner's not there to bail them out this time. I'm taking Dallas in 5. Dallas is going to mop the floor with the Edmonton Oilers, and it's going to suck to watch. If you're an Oilers fan, or if you're on the bandwagon, it's going to suck to watch. And Stuart Skinner, for some reason, was the kryptonite for that Dallas team. They've been so close to getting over the hump for a few years now. This might be their year. Dallas versus Tampa Bay in the Stanley Cup Finals. This happened in 2020. This was the exact same series in 2020. And I'll give you another funny hint. Tampa Bay didn't have Stamkos in that series either when they won the Cup. But Dallas didn't have Mikko Rantanen. They didn't have Jake Ottinger. They had Dobby, what was his name? Oh my goodness, I'm forgetting his name. Blank. It was a backup goalie, Anton Khudobin. It was a weird run for the Dallas Stars that year. But here we are, Dallas versus Tampa Bay. Dallas is getting their revenge. I'm going Dallas in 6, and there you have it. Dallas winning the Stanley Cup over Tampa Bay in 6 games after all is said and done. And that's all. That's your 2026 Stanley Cup playoffs as I see it happening today on Tuesday, April 14th, I think it is. Thank you very much for watching if you watched this far. And hopefully I have a review for you guys after this first round's done because it's going to be a hell of a ride. 6 teams we haven't seen in the playoffs last year. We're going to see this time what it's like. There's a lot of playoff series we haven't seen in a long time. There's a lot of different series that we haven't seen in a while. I'm very intrigued as to how this first round is going to go because it's anybody's cup at this point. The Florida Panthers aren't here to defend their crown. Tampa Bay isn't the same team they used to be, but they're going to certainly try and keep Florida in the cup tally. Guess we'll find out, right? All right. Have a great night, everybody. And I guess have fun watching the Stanley Cup playoffs. We'll be back eventually.